Could be big, And we have arrived. It is game one of the NBA Finals 2021 between the Bucks and the Suns. Who saw that one coming? Not me. No, you didn't. I'm Dave Loughran. Along with me, Josh Engleman, breaking it all down on a first edition of Live Before Lock for the NBA Finals. I'm stoked. I know he's looking forward to this one as well. And man, earlier today during the strategy show, pretty simple. Giannis doubtful, very unlikely that he plays. Maybe we get him back in game 2, game 3. We'll see. And he goes from questionable to he warmed up. We'll figure it out after game time decision. Right now, there's no other place to be than on Live Before Lock for you and myself as well. Like, this is a huge process that has to get broken down, and hopefully we find out sooner than later.
You're telling me, man, because I got to rerun some stuff if that dude is in, because I still have him out. Not ideal. I don't have a feel for it. The line is still sitting at 5.5 at a book that matters to me, which is interesting. I would have thought that it would have started to move a little bit more aggressively. Money line's fallen a little bit, but nothing too crazy. I think we're just playing a legitimate waiting game right now, which is fine, but I have my eyes glued to my NBA Newsbreakers column in TweetDeck. And when we see it, we'll see it. But otherwise, you and I need to figure out something to do until that news breaks.
Yeah. What we're going to do is going to break down both angles of this one, because this is the biggest. This isn't like Bobby Portis or PJ Tucker being out. Hell, this isn't even Jrue Holiday being out. Like, that would be huge. Don't get me wrong. But this Giannis news is massive. Everything is contingent upon what happens with Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's that simple. There's no two ways around it. So we're all here just in a holding pattern, Josh. That's what it is. We're in NBA DFS purgatory right now. You know what I mean?
That's a good one. I like that a lot. We are in purgatory right now. Yeah, and I'm quite confident, given the fact that I have Giannis out, I'm going straight to hell.
Yeah. So you have him out, but you think he's going to play?
Well, I think he's going to play because I have him out.
Gotcha. Okay.
You understand where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Because I have terrible luck for this kind of stuff.
I have a sizable wager on Bucks spread that I hit at 6.5. And I got to be honest with you, Josh. I thought to myself, all right, this is going to move, because I hit it right as that news came out. One book was slow to take it off. I'm thinking, worst case scenario, it moves a point here, right? Like, it's got to move a point for me even before we have any real idea. Yeah. And it did. And then it bounced back to 6.5. Now I'm looking, it's at 6. But like you said, a lot of books, and I went over to oddshopper.com as well and checked that out there. Almost every other book has it at 5.5 right now. Yeah. If Giannis is in, because now I got a steel trap up here. Total lie, awful memory. But I do recall.
Pretty sure it rusted.
I do recall, stainless steel guy. I do recall you saying.
You didn't say that.
Well, it was just to be assumed that when we talked about the Bucks Suns, when we talked about this like a week ago, you said if Giannis is healthy, you have the Bucks favored in this series. Now, the series line was pulled from a lot of books, but this morning it was Suns minus 165. I think it was, right? I think it was around there. If Giannis plays and looks good, because I think that's another caveat here. Giannis could play and go the way of James Harden in game 4 or whatever it was, go the way of Anthony Davis against the Suns, or right. Or Chris Paul in those 2 games where he clearly wasn't healthy. If that's the case, then God bless the bookmakers trying to figure that one out, because that's going to be fun. But what do you think what do you think the series line goes to? And what do you think the Bucks look like just individual games here? Like, would they be favored in game 2?
No, I don't think I don't think they could be favored in Phoenix, barring an injury for Phoenix.
Me neither, but you said you thought it would be around the pick'em if Giannis was healthy.
Yeah, I think the line moves to like 2.5, something in that neighborhood. And I mean, the series line is sort of impossible to talk about because we'll have a game. Like, if the Bucks win and Giannis plays today, you bet your ass they're the favorites in the series. like whenever you can bet on the series line again. If the Suns win, they're not going to be the favorites whether Giannis plays or not. So like we're kind of pinched on the series question at this point because we'll have an outcome. But in terms of the game, if Giannis plays today and makes it through scot-free, I figure the line is like 2 or 2.5 for game 2.
Yeah, I think you're right. Our boy over under. Laffy's way too excited about one stupid point when the game is going to be a blowout anyway. I'm not looking for 1 point. I'm looking for Giannis to play and then have it move an additional several points. Like if he's in, Josh, this isn't closing at 5.5, even if we don't know if he's healthy.
Could you imagine if you had takes like, you're worried about one stupid point when it's going to be a blowout? You should be taking shits on solid gold toilets if you know that much information. Come on.
Hating to beat any closing line because we know we're certain it's going to be a blowout for sure.
I hope you're taking the Bucks plus or 20 plus or more margin of victory at plus whatever the hell it is.
Anyway, we're happy to have all you guys with us. Thank you for all of those kind comments earlier in the show. I do not miss them. 2020 vision, Josh. Stainless steel trap, 2020 vision. Great one-liners. We did not miss any of them. Appreciate it. We're happy to have you guys here because this is a fun one. I mean, game 1 of the finals is one thing. You got a milli maker over on DraftKings. Like that alone should say enough. It's absurd, right? Meanwhile, you got NBA contests with like 50K up top tonight. So it just goes to show you there's still an insane amount of enthusiasm and excitement surrounding the NBA right now. But the fact that Giannis is questionable to play and we still don't know less than an hour until lock, it's a whirlwind, baby. So let's do this one together. Hit that thumbs up for us, Josh. This is going to be a tough ask. We're at 177. I'm 179. I'm going to ask to get to 300 out of the gate. I know that's a tough pull, but I think
game 1 of the finals, baby.
I think people are stoked. Eric said, Josh is up way past his bedtime. You hit the thumbs up just for that. Listen, if that's your motivating factor, that's all we need. Subscribe to the channel as well. We love doing this. We don't have so much left. There's not a whole lot left to NBA. So we're going to revel in all of this until it's over. And if you want to join the family here at Awesemo, hit that join now button, get the badges that increase over time. And all of that good stuff. Just hit the subscribe, the thumbs up, and the join now. Larry C. Laffy, you look a little tired. Did you run a country mile today?
I feel like I did.
That's solid. Oh, we're straight up over 300 that quick.
Oh, my God, yeah.
You guys are the greatest.
We should do nothing on this show except for hit different levels of likes. Like now we should just be like, and we will move forward when we get to 400 likes. Congratulations on getting to 400. Can we get to 500? We just do that until Giannis gets in or out.
Yeah. It might work. No, I think we would just have people drop off like crazy and then turn those likes into dislikes. We got a poll up. Let's dive into this one, hit a little strategy, but I will hit on the first thing here. Who wins the NBA finals? We put the poll up. Was that you or Jordan?
It wasn't me, actually.
All right.
I'm like Jordan, Shaggy over here.
Coming through in the clutch. Who wins the NBA finals? Put your pick in, Josh. And if you guys are in chat, put your pick in. Let's do this straight out of the gate. I'm going, oh, wow. 218 votes, 50-50. Woo. I love it. Okay. Let's make it happen. Showdown strategy. First thing, Josh, right now. I'm going to throw you a curveball, a little bit of spin on this one, right?
Great.
Because this is a whole lot different than any other game we've seen this year. We are almost at 400 likes. So that was sharp.
Told you.
Where we're at right now, one might say DFS purgatory. Yes. Wise man might have said that earlier in the show.
Definitely not true then.
What do you do right now? In all seriousness, being in a holding pattern, like, do you just wait and then do you set up two different scenarios? Do you put it in your head like, this is what I'm going to do if this happens so you're not caught off guard?
Well, the easiest thing to do on a day like today is to just build twice. You have plenty of time. Do the build with Giannis in, do the build with Giannis out, and then you don't have to worry about scrambling. It's not like there's additional news or different games. We have one data point that we're waiting on. Giannis in or Giannis out. Prep them both. I didn't because I can only prep one thing at a time in my sheets. But if I were not doing this show live right now, I would have prepped my projections, ran my crunches for him being out, and then saved everything that I had and then ran them for him being in and just said, all right, well, when this happens, it happens. I did not do that.
TJ Zwarich with the super chat. If we hit 1,000 likes, Josh has to live stream himself running 10 furlongs. Have a good show, gents. Thanks,
10 furlongs to
for
miles.
those of you that weren't here for
I could do that. I could do that during the show. It's 1.25 miles.
For those of you that weren't here during the show, the strategy show, I always wondered why a country mile was a country mile and not a city mile, because it would take much longer time to traverse a city mile with traffic and streetlights. Turns out that a country mile is 10 furlongs and a city mile is 8 furlongs. And if you say, Loppy, the fact that you didn't know that is absurd, then I don't want to hear it. Nobody knows that shit. Nobody at all.
The only problem in your analysis is that you assumed that this had something to do with getting into traffic for a term that came out before there were cars.
Well, that was a joke, first of all. That was a joke. But I still didn't know that a country mile was actually longer than a city mile. That's all I'm saying.
I never would have thought to look, if it helps.
Me neither. And I'm sitting here glued to this Giannis news. I'm hoping we get it any minute now. But we can start talking a little bit about how we approach this, right? He's a game time decision. We already know, right? Like, we already know what happens if he's out. The ownership now on Awesemo has him in. Okay. So given that that's the case, we know what it looked like earlier in the day with him out, and now with him in. With him out, Jrue Holiday was the highest owned player on DraftKings, highest owned captain. Middleton was right up there with him. Jrue Holiday's price point has actually come down $400 since the last game Giannis played, which is, as we like to say, preposterous. Yes. Bobby Portis no longer becomes a viable option. Maybe you have a different opinion there, but I mean, Bobby Portis at that price point is strictly priced for no Giannis. You might even say he's a good price with Giannis out, but with Giannis in, everything changes. So we know what goes on if Giannis is out. It's pretty simple. But for anyone that wasn't with us this morning, that's looking to have both pieces of this puzzle in the event that we need them, what are you doing at the captain spot and with these high-priced Bucks players? We don't even need to get into Phoenix. We can in a little bit, but with these high-priced Bucks players, if Giannis sits.
So if Giannis sits, I'm just unloading on Jrue Holiday, unloading on Chris Middleton. I think they are unquestionably the top 2 plays on the slate. I would have a hard time saying that it's anybody else. That's particular on DraftKings, but it's also true on FanDuel, although Bobby Portis creeps into that list as well at 9,500 if Giannis ends up out. But I want to play as much Chris Middleton as I possibly can. I assume I would have him everywhere on DraftKings, and he would be my clear top option at captain by miles, country miles, in fact.
Oh, okay. Are you worried that we see a Giannis that is playing in a very limited capacity?
Yes. No. I don't think they can play him if he's like James Harden, he's not playing today. He's useless in that scenario. I assume that he's going to be relatively mobile. He'll just have to play differently, which doesn't work well for DFS, but I think can still really help the Bucks. If Giannis plays today, I don't think that I'm going to be very confident in him. One, I don't expect him to be playing 40 minutes today like you would really want him to play. And two, I just have a hard time thinking that he justifies his salary.
Yeah, it's just, man, this is the finals. So on one hand, it's all right, this is the finals. Do we rest him and get him back for game 2? But on the other hand, this is the finals. Yeah. We need him, right? Like, we absolutely need him. So I don't really know where this is going. What I do know is Giannis right now is projected for 61% ownership on DraftKings, 17% captain. On FanDuel, 71% ownership, almost 50% in the MVP. How much do you envision yourself having of him if he's active in the MVP and the captain spot?
So he's 1,600 on FanDuel and what on DK? 11.
He's 16,000 on FanDuel. 1,600 would be a steal.
Yes, I would certainly play him at 1,600 on FanDuel.
And 16.8 in the
I would play Thanasis and the other one, Costas, as well at 1,600.
He's 11.2 in the utility, 16.8 in the captain spot on DraftKings.
I mean, Look, you know what? No, this is actually how I think as of right now. I haven't run any data. I assume I would be looking to give. What do we have in for minutes on the site right now?
I will tell you, good sir.
35. At 35 minutes, I would guess that I would have a very minimal amount of Giannis Antetokounmpo anywhere.
But I think 35 is a reasonable and somewhat conservative estimate, because it's not out of the question that he plays his full allotment of minutes if he says he's good to go. Now, mind you, one thing I always find interesting, right, is like there's this notion that players come back when they're not ready and this and that, and sometimes that's true. But one thing I'm sure of is that these players still know their bodies better than the training staff. Are they sometimes overzealous and thinking that, like, I can just go out there and I'll be fine? Sure. Yeah, that's possible as well. But from what I read earlier today and what I saw earlier today, he's been lobbying to play. Remember when Anthony Davis against the Suns, I didn't hear one thing about Anthony Davis wants to play. It was probably more along the lines of LeBron James is forcing Anthony Davis to play.
No, the exact opposite. They did not want him to play. I've listened to quite a bit on this.
Really? I didn't see anything.
He was like, I'm playing. And from everything that I've understood, they were just like, this isn't going to last very long. And then it didn't. From what I understood, they didn't care that he played because they didn't think that he could keep playing.
So they didn't think that even if he didn't play, he wasn't going to, or he was going to play again, basically.
They just the way that I had heard it, I don't remember if this was with Nate Duncan and John Hollinger, or if it was Duncan and Danny LaRue. But the way that I understood it was basically like, he said he wanted to play. They knew that was probably not a good idea, and they didn't expect him to be able to play very long once he tried. So it didn't matter to them if they tried to put him out there. And that was basically exactly how it played out. Okay.
The baller says Josh is right. LeBron said not to play. Okay. I guess I missed that. It must have been after the fact. It must have come out after the fact that he re-injured it, because prior to that, I wasn't seeing a whole lot of that, but I'll take your word for it for sure. Yeah. But either way, like if he wants to play, got a hyperextended knee, I don't know what to make of it. We're just waiting right now. And hold on a second. I got an alert. I'm trying to be careful.
I've got Twitter open. Our chat is usually crazy about it quickly. I've got the betting lines in front of me right now.
And we are on a slight delay. So we will see this and say it as soon as it breaks.
You're wasting your time.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I
every single person in chat right now, 1,896 people are going to let us know what his status is the moment it comes out.
For sure. And what I want to know from you is, if Giannis plays, how willing are you to embrace the volatility, embrace the risk that maybe he's not okay, that he does go the way of Harden? But I guess that's a bit of a different example, because James Harden still played 44 minutes in that game, right? But goes the way of Anthony Davis and isn't able to make it through the game. We've actually seen that happen with Giannis before, as a matter of fact, or Chris Paul, where Cameron Payne ended up getting a ton of run and ended up being a tournament winning play in that one game. And it was in optimal lineups a game after that. How willing are you to embrace some of this volatility and look at some of the, like maybe even a Portis if Giannis plays, whose ownership will fall through the floor? I mean, mind you, earlier he was projected at much, much higher ownership. Now Bobby Portis is at 14% projected ownership on DraftKings because of that price point. And run it down the entire list, Josh. Like, are you willing to go overweight on Jrue at captain, maybe overweight on Middleton at captain, even if Giannis is active? This is what we need to know.
Yeah. So I'm obviously going to like Jrue and Chris Middleton a lot less. The usage rates are just going to plummet at that point in time, but I still think they're going to look really good as potential captain options. They certainly will get a little bit of a boost in the fact that, like, maybe Giannis re-injures himself and leaves. I mean, think back to the bubble. We did this with Giannis once before, and the ankle got hurt again, and he had to leave the floor and then never saw the floor again for the rest of that Miami series. Yeah. So there is that possibility as well. I think Portis is pretty well dead on DK at 6,800. If Giannis is in, it's going to be a real hard justification. You basically need Giannis to not be able to play the entire allotment of minutes. And even then, you then also need Bobby Portis to be good. On FanDuel, though, where Portis is 9,500, I think you can still get away with it as a value play. You know, he plays whatever backup run that he's supposed to get. If the game gets a little squirrely and they need offense, you might see a little bit more of him. So I think Portis still works a little bit on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I think the ownership that we're projecting right now is proper. Something in that 10 to 15% range feels about right.
How much longer do you think until we get this news? It can't be long at this point. It's 8:21 on the East Coast.
10 minutes.
It's got to be around that, you would think.
I hope it is. I hope it is. I can't keep asking people to hit that like button so we get over 500.
Oh, we're well over 500 already, fella.
Oh, it was 490 on my screen. Now it's 515. I can't be asking people to hit the like button so we get to 600.
We're almost at 2,000 viewers. So yeah, we're making moves here. It's a big game. We got to know what's going on. The Phoenix side, we'll spend a little time here. And listen, I don't want to say we're killing time until the Giannis news, but we need to, you guys get it. You guys get it. So it's probably a good, we touch on Phoenix now because this will change a little bit, Josh. If Giannis is out, sure, Booker's not going to be the highest owned player on DraftKings, right? No. We know that. It's gonna flip back to Jrue Holiday. But as it stands right now, which of these guys do you like the most of the high-priced Suns options?
DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
Yeah, the $8,400 price tag to me is the most appealing piece on DK. I don't think it matters all that much whether Giannis is in or out for Ayton in particular. And at 8,400, like, to me, that works. I think Ayton, you have to assume Ayton has a slightly easier job guarding Giannis if Giannis plays today. Like, no matter how much you like Giannis today or how much, like, no matter what you think, it's impossible for him to be 100%. You're getting a slightly diminished, even if he's 95, it's not 100. So to me, Ayton's defensive job gets a little bit easier. Hell, maybe his offensive job gets a little bit easier just because Giannis is like a 10th of a step slower. And at 8,400, he's $1,200 cheaper than Devin Booker. He's $1,400 cheaper than Chris Paul. And I don't think that all three of those guys are all that different. So I will happily get some DeAndre Ayton regardless. He's my favorite guy if he's out. He's definitely my favorite Phoenix Sun if he's in.
Yeah, if Giannis is out or in, right. So I actually did a radio spot on a local station, the Fox Philly Gambler, earlier today, and was asked the same question. How much are you worried about Ayton if Giannis plays from a DFS standpoint? And the truth of the matter is, Josh, you can't be worried enough to take him out of your player pool and not consider him a good option on a one-game slate where you only have two teams to choose from and only a handful of high-priced players. Like you said, does he become more appealing with one scenario? Sure. But does the other scenario disqualify him from being a top play? No, absolutely not, especially not with the way that DeAndre Ayton has played, particularly this postseason. He's been spectacular.
I just keep thinking about what his data is going to look like if I start running sims with him in at 36 minutes, which is probably what I would shoot for. Although that just feels like a lot.
And you start running sims with Giannis in at 36 minutes? Yeah.
I feel like 34 feels a little bit more like what I would do. And
why don't you run him? I think everybody would appreciate what it looks like to see. Is this doable, or is it going to mess up your lineups in the event that Giannis is out?
It's fine.
Okay. So I think it'd be interesting to see what he looks like, or what it looks like if Giannis ends up playing and we give him, say, like you said, 35, 36 minutes. Seems reasonable enough. Now, mind you, in the postseason before this injury, not including that 24-minute game or the 29-minute game against Atlanta that they won by almost 30 points, he's played 50 minutes. That was double OT, right? Double OT or single OT? That was double. Was that single OT?
No memory, man.
I think it was. I think it was single. Either way, 50 minutes, 41, 41, 41, 42, 38, 43, and then 31 in a huge blowout loss in game two. Giannis was easily locked in if he's healthy for 40+ minutes. What do you think the chances are he plays that he gets over 40 minutes? Because I'm not necessarily sure it's certainly not there's a non-zero chance that Giannis still gets his minutes, but what are the possibilities that he plays 30 minutes too? It's such a tough question. Even if we get this news that he's in,
I think it's impossible for him to play 40 minutes today.
You think it's impossible?
Yeah.
But like, what's the difference between 36 and 40 really in the grand scheme of things?
I think they're just going to be really conscious about trying to get him off the floor in the minute before scheduled TV timeouts. And I think that it's just they're going to try to grab him as much rest as I would expect, because it's not just that he's hurt. He's in lesser condition than he was a week and a half ago as well. So I think they're just going to be very conscious of pulling him out when they know they're about to get a television stoppage. They were doing that a little bit in the last series, and I think that they would just be a little bit more aggressive for it. And honestly, you just don't need to unload the entire clip in game one, live to see another, you just don't have to run him into the ground for 40. If he plays 40, it's because he's totally fine.
That's what I'm saying though.
I can't, if he's totally fine, he's also in already.
Yeah.
What could you possibly be checking to see on him if he can play 40 minutes today? Those two things don't align for me.
He's your
Harden obviously looked awful. He should not have been playing 46 minutes in that game.
Yeah. Yeah. He's your franchise player though. I don't know. It's impossible right now. It's 8:27. We're going to get this news, I say, within 5 minutes. I think we're going to get it within 5 minutes. So thanks for hanging out with us while we wait. It's been a blast. We're at 6:28 already. 600. This is just absurd. Are there any?
We're gonna get the real answer by the time I have my answers.
By the time your Sims are done running, yeah. What do you think?
I'm not even done adjusting the rotation.
If you're looking at captain and MVP, outside of the guys we've talked about, are there any contrarian spots that you're willing to get to? Because the ownership in captain right now, you've got 5 guys. Let me sort it by captain. And by the way, we have free projections for the slate today over at Awesemo. The single game and the single game showdown projections are totally free for NBA. They're usually behind the paywall. So check that out if you would like, and go over to Awesemo_com. We're doing a huge giveaway, $1,000 value, Awesemo Plus annual pass. Everything in the site included for the entire year. All you have to do is follow the directions and, of course, guess who scores more points tonight, Devin Booker or Chris Paul. Devin Booker's prop is at 27.5 right now. Chris Paul is at 20.5. So there is a right answer there for sure. Now, granted, if you go on the other side and you end up being right, take that contrarian play, there's a whole lot less of you to choose from when they randomly select you. But yeah, for sure, check that out. Right now, you have 5 guys in double-digit captain spot ownership. This is with Giannis projected in. Booker, Giannis, Paul, Ayton, and Jrue Holiday, okay? Aside from that, you've got Middleton actually only at 9% due to that pretty exorbitant price point with Giannis projected in. And then it falls off a cliff, Josh. There's just nobody else. And it sure feels like that's probably the way it should be if Giannis is active.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really difficult to go any other directions.
Giannis is in, baby. Giannis is in. There you go. Told you as soon as it happened. I got you. Giannis will play today. He is in.
There we go.
I got there before all of you in chat. We're on a delay.
Wild.
I'm just kidding.
Look, so let's keep an eye on the line because there is no market. Penny pulled it. I'm anxious to see where this comes back up.
So am I. Let's see. Is it pulled on DK? It's still up there. It is still up there, sitting at 6. So
get it.
Run
now
to the window. I'll tell you that much.
And I don't know if Portis props have changed, but go ahead and grab the unders on those if they look like they were still for before.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And we talked about this. This is probably a perfect time to say this. Josh, earlier today, we talked about No House Advantage, sponsor of the show, how they do not change the props during the day. You said they had him projected in.
Yes.
Yeah, they had Giannis projected in. So if you got your No House Advantage lineups with all of those Giannis projected out props, make those flips right now. Don't forget to go and change that. If you haven't signed up, use the promo code Awesemo. Get $20 when you sign up. This is everyone, by the way, not just new users. If you're an existing user, you get $20 there as well when you make a deposit. Peer-to-peer player prop platform. It's awesome. You will enjoy it. And instead of salary caps, you're just throwing player props in there. And when you check it out, it's a great way to build your bankroll. No question. We got proof, getting screenshots of people in chat all the time. When you check it out, go to Awesemo. Use our free player prop projection tool specifically for No House Advantage. Use the Optimal Lineups tool and use that promo code Awesemo to get your $20 when you sign up. All right, here we go. Giannis in.
Sims are running. I'm running crunches now. So I have my updated projections. I just don't have my data. We're going to need about 5 minutes and then we'll have that. But it's DK is running in the background. When DK ends, I'm going to close DK, open FanDuel, run that the second run. But at the very least, we could talk about what my optimal is now, which I think is very important because it looks a lot different than it did earlier today.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that optimal lineup for sure. You know what's interesting too?
No, but I'd love to hear it.
Mostly everything I say. So
no,
I love getting Jordan Klein, our producer. You know, it always like the head just falls off the screen and slowly comes back there. The interesting thing about this too, Josh, is there's always that risk that Mike Budenholzer says he'll be limited, or that he says we'll monitor his minutes, which is just the death knell when it comes to that, because most people think, oh, he's going to be monitored. That means limited. Oftentimes it just means I'm going to stand on the sidelines and watch him play basketball. And if he looks okay, he can play as many minutes as he wants.
I don't think that Coach Bud has any say in how much Giannis plays today. Okay. Unless he looks bad.
All right.
I think this is a full medical team decision. And that is, I think it's only the medical team that can make this distinction today.
All right. So like they'll come up and tap Bud on the shoulder and be like, yo, he needs to go.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's crazy. Do you know if he wears a tracking device? I don't know if the Bucks do that or not.
I do not.
Because I mean, you can get that real-time data. If he's running at 55% of his normal rate or something like that, then you rip him right out of that game.
So how long do we got to these Sims are finished running? Because we're in crunch time now, baby. It's time to make this happen.
4 minutes there. I have crunches run right now.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that. What do you got? While you do, I want to pull up a couple of these super chats. I'll hit on them after you're done.
Yeah. Optimal lineup on DraftKings right now. DeAndre Ayton at the captain spot. Giannis, Booker, Jrue Holiday, Cam Payne, and Cam Johnson.
Who's at the captain spot?
Ayton.
Okay. Did you say Giannis is in or isn't?
Is.
In a utility spot. That's unusual, huh?
And then he's the captain in my second lineup, and he's not in my third lineup, which is that's a lot to take in.
All right. So then with that in mind, how many did you run?
I just ran my first 3, but if you want me to run basically a simulated.
Yeah. I was curious I was curious how much Giannis you're going to get, because like I said, hey, Alex Baker and our guys on the Awesemo ownership projections were on top of this. They've had him projected in, and I think that was the right move. Like, you can't project somebody out when they get upgraded to questionable and then a game time decision. We got our last update 2 minutes ago over at awesemo.com. 63.5% projected ownership for Giannis, 19% in the captain spot. This still has, by a hair, Josh, Devin Booker higher ownership at captain by a very, very small margin, essentially neck and neck, and about 3.5% higher in the just overall ownership. Do you agree with that?
It's starting to look like I will. I am running my power rankings crunch. So I set everybody to 125% pro randomness. That gives me a decent proxy for what comes out of my sims before the sim is done. Giannis, the most frequent captain, which is not something that I expected at 34 minutes. It's
maybe because 34 minutes from Giannis is like 50 from anybody else. But are these going to be 34 Giannis minutes?
I mean, I got him at 49.5 fantasy points right now. That is enough to put him in the captain spot more frequently than anyone else so far. When the sim is done, I'll give you the legit data. But at the captain, Booker, a slight second behind Giannis. Ayton, Holiday, Paul, Middleton is the order. Those are really the only guys that you're going to. Utility throws Cam Johnson way to the front of the line at 2,800. He becomes the main guy that you have to pay down for, in my opinion. I haven't looked at his ownership yet, but certainly if Giannis is in, I liked him a ton earlier today. I'll only like him more if Giannis is in, obviously. If you're talking about other pay down options, Dario Saric at 2K. That's the best that I could say right now.
That was the only other player that I looked at and saw any real legitimacy in rostering him today. And the truth is you're hoping for 10, 11 minutes, Josh.
I got my DK sim done.
Those are some gnarly headphones you got in right now.
I think AirPods come back tomorrow, baby. I already got the alert from Best Buy.
You look like the kid on the playground that, had to wear those glasses that always fell off. You know?
Mean me?
Was that you?
I mean, I wore a glasses strap when I played basketball. Did you have to wear the
straps?
When I played basketball up until I was a freshman and I got contacts.
You remind me of the one guy from We're the Millers, the DEA agent that is the husband of the crazy wife.
We just talked about this. I don't remember any bit of that movie.
Oh, okay. I mean, you really look just like him.
I'll take that as a compliment if he's a movie star.
No, it certainly is not. But I don't know if there are any other punts down there. Cameron Johnson, Dario Saric, and then a bunch of guys that literally aren't going to crack the rotation today, right? So I think that leads us to the next very obvious question, and that's, what are we doing with guys like, first of all, Pat Connaughton's price point has come up considerably, right?
Yes.
That's an issue. He had a solid game at last time, 30 minutes, really efficient shooting and 8 boards, but that goes out the window. What's his ownership at right now? It's got to be through the floor, 8%. Like, he's basically he's the lowest ownership of anyone that's going to get minutes, not named Torrey Craig at this point. Right. I think, yeah. So is there anyone a little bit above them that is viable? Like, there's such a big jump in those cheap price points up all the way to Bryn Forbes and then PJ Tucker and Cameron Payne and those guys.
By the way, I do want to hit people with my FanDuel Optimal since we were talking about it before and we didn't get a chance to get it in. Giannis at the MVP, Jrue Holiday at star, Ayton at pro, Bridges and Portis are the 2 utility options.
Okay. How do you feel about it?
I don't mind that at all. The second best lineup is just barely behind it, and you flip-flop Ayton and Holiday at star and pro.
So
anyway, so now I have my actual data. This is legitimate. This would be what I would have posted. I have Giannis legitimately neutral today. I have him at 19.2% chance at the captain. We have his ownership at 19.3. So I am spot on that number. 64% owned. I think we're right on that number. If we want to talk about the guys that are getting the biggest swing, I think Cam Johnson is still under owned at 48.5%, in particular at that flex spot. To me, he just becomes a necessity. Although in situations like this, where you have, at least I have, one guy breaking free from the pack so much, don't be afraid to play a 1K guy today and cross your fingers, because this could look a lot like some of those games earlier in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals where we were seeing 1K guys that didn't play at all end up in optimal lineup. So I think that could be functionally okay if Cam Johnson busts. I think you can get to like the Abdel Naders and I don't know, maybe Jeff Teagues of the world at this point, although I don't think Teague plays now that Giannis is back. Cam Johnson under-owned. DeAndre Ayton to me under-owned, and he would be the guy that I'd be looking to get to at captain if you're looking to play a large field GPP and be a little bit more unique. Jay Crowder probably going a bit over-owned. I'm pretty much in line with our ownership. I am not as fond of Bobby Portis, but he's also not pulling much ownership.
All right. Solid breakdown. Edgar Allan Toe with the super chat from earlier. You saw the hyperextended knee. Could Giannis possibly be at over 85%? Honestly, dude, I don't know. I have no idea. Giannis has dealt with similar things, not similar things, but injuries, come back, tried to play and not been all right, which is what I really want to dig into in a second, Josh, is just what type of decisions are we willing to make now that we know he's in? And are we willing to go off the map a little bit? But it's a lot tougher with this team because everyone else is priced up and Middleton and Holiday are already good plays. So there aren't that many alternatives. And that's the issue. Jeff Williams with a hefty little super chat. Thanks, Jeff. Doesn't Giannis hurt Holiday more than Middleton? Takes away assist upside and makes him more of a jump shooter.
It does, but the price tag being $1,200 cheaper is also a giant benefit for Holiday. So like I have Middleton. I had Holiday projected higher than Middleton with Giannis out. I have Middleton projected higher than Holiday now with him in, but not enough so that I would want to get to Middleton over Holiday. But we can dig into that a little bit further once we get to 800 likes, since we have 2,400 people in here right now and we're at 670. Hit that thumbs up. Let's run it up. Can we hit 1,000? Is that doable? Can we do that?
In 20 minutes? I don't think it's out of the question.
No, I mean, some people should have bigger challenges in life, like getting us to 1,000 likes, but 800 needs to happen right now.
I'm on board. Show us some love. You know, another thing about Holiday is, and thanks for that super chat, Jeff. It's a valid point for sure. But the same thing I mentioned to you in the strategy show this morning, I think even at the top of this show, Holiday's price came down from the last game he played with Giannis. So you're not paying that markup where they go and take Portis and they take Connaughton and all of these other players, and they preemptively price them up with the assumption that Giannis is out. Jrue Holiday's price came down, Josh. So that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the type of thing that people probably aren't looking at. They probably just immediately see like, oh yeah, Holiday must be a bad play now because Giannis is in. It's like, no, his price is better than it was the last time Giannis played and wasn't hurt.
Exactly. So keep that in mind for sure. M Cleaner, Giannis or Booker MVP on FanDuel, Josh?
I can give an answer on that. I'm still running the sims, but I did run a cheat sim to check it out. You said Giannis or Booker?
Yeah.
It's got to be Giannis.
Dowens, thank you, sir. Is leaving nothing on the table always minus EV, even with low-owned captain? I think it depends, too, on what the rest of your lineup looks like. If it's a lineup that's zeroed out, but it's not a popular lineup, then not always, no.
No, it all depends on who you're taking there. Like, I could spend all 50K in salary and have a lineup that's probably really unique. Whether or not it's good is a different question. But you're naturally going to get less duplication the further you work your way down the salary tier. And you're naturally going to get the most at 50K just by default. People use optimizers. It tries to use all 50K. Doesn't mean that it's a bad lineup or anything if it's at 50K, though.
It's the same thing as in, like, are contrarian builds always good? Well, it depends who's in your contrarian build.
Yeah, and what contest you're entering, which is way more important.
For sure.
I've got FanDuel now finished as well.
All right. Go to FanDuel, and then I want to kind of get a little granular on this one and come full circle. I want to put a bow on this Giannis stuff because we got about 17 minutes. I want to give everyone a real opportunity to have the full idea of what we're doing with the Giannis news now official. If you're just tuning in, Giannis Antetokounmpo is playing. He will start. He is active for game 1 of the finals. Go ahead, Josh.
Okay, so my top play overall on FanDuel is basically a tie between Giannis and DeAndre Ayton. Obviously, Giannis significantly more likely to be in the MVP spot. I actually think he's slightly over-owned at MVP right now. So I am walking back a lot of what I said at the beginning. I didn't think the projection would carry that 16K price tag, but apparently it is. That's why you run the data, you know? I'm just going to rely on that. Anyway, DeAndre Ayton in particular, I think is going massively under-owned. Clean across the board. MVP spot, under-owned. Star spot, under-owned. Pro, we got him projected for 13% ownership. I would double it. I think DeAndre Ayton is currently the most under-owned guy. Mikal Bridges is making a run at that title, however. Just 9K, projected for 28% ownership at the utility. I had him showing up at 50%. Even if you want to think that that's a little high, we're talking about, 1.5 times his current ownership. Bridges as a value play at 9K looks very, very good to me. If I'm picking between Booker and Paul, to me, it's a coin flip in ownership. That is, it's not a coin flip to me. However, I would get to Devin Booker at 13.5 long before I got to Chris Paul at 15K. I don't even think it's particularly close. I have Devin Booker projected for more fantasy points in general. Holiday better than Middleton, $1,500 cheaper. Very difficult to justify Chris Middleton over Holiday, particularly when they're projected for the same amount of ownership.
Who's your favorite captain on DraftKings?
So my favorite captain in terms of frequency is Giannis. My favorite captain in a GPP format, because I think they're under-owned, is DeAndre Ayton.
Okay. Yeah. So Ayton under-owned on both sites, you would say?
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, this is tough. So let's do it. We'll put a bow on the Giannis news, because the truth is it makes it a little harder to build lineups now with Giannis active. Before, you didn't have to worry about that price point, and it was pretty easy to build some good stuff. That isn't to say that you can't do it with this, Josh, but I definitely think it throws a wrench into the works a little bit. So what is a preferred build for cash and for tournaments, Jordan, if you want to move it down to that? Like, what's the biggest difference you're making, biggest difference you're seeing between cash and tournament builds now that Giannis is in?
Oh, man. Well, cash is pretty tricky now because the ownership is a lot flatter than I was expecting. Cam Johnson is probably a lock for my cash lineup. I mean, I think my cash lineup would look a lot like my optimal lineup right now, which is that DeAndre Ayton at captain, Giannis, Booker, Holiday. So you get 4 of the big 6. The campaign piece, I don't love. I think you could turn, in this scenario, you could turn campaign into PJ Tucker, and I don't think it's all that crazy if you want to try to bet on more minutes. But Cam Johnson piece feels like it has to happen. I'm guessing that would probably be, I think my optimal would be my cash lineup. I don't really see anybody that I see as like a legitimate GPP only option today.
Neither do I. The only guy I would say is actually somewhat intriguing to me, and there's definitely a possibility that you and I are not on the same page here, but PJ Tucker's pulling very, very little ownership. And
yeah,
he's still probably in line to play big minutes in this game. I don't see why he wouldn't, Josh. He's played 34, then big blowout, 27, 38, and 32. In a finals game, and if you can get a rotation piece, even listen, as little productivity as you've seen from him at times, excuse me, he's still gone 20 plus DraftKings points in 3 of his last 5 and 4 of his last 7. I have to look at that as a viable option, especially at that ownership. I'd almost venture to say that with Giannis in, PJ Tucker's under-owned a little bit.
I agree. I have him in the optimal 21% of the time. We've got him at 14% ownership. So I'm happy to get to PJ Tucker at 4,400. I'd be surprised if he lost a ton of minutes. My guess would be that Bobby Portis is more likely to lose them before PJ Tucker. And at this point now with Giannis in, I wouldn't be surprised to see Pat Connaughton be the guy that gets a little bit more minutes if anybody had to over someone like Portis. Pat Connaughton currently projected for 8% ownership. The problem is he's 4,800 and that price sucks.
Right. Exactly. Now someone asked, is it a bad idea? I'm paraphrasing, or is it kind of contradictory to have Saric and Cam Johnson in the same lineup for a tournament?
No, I don't think it matters.
Okay. I don't think so in a game like this. It matters anyway, because
Saric and Cam Johnson.
Yeah, that doesn't matter at all. But even if you're talking,
I mean, they're 2 bench players. They don't have anything to do with each other.
Right. Even if you're talking mutually exclusive players like Saric and whoever he's subbing for, say Ayton. What'd you say?
Ayton.
Yeah. Even in that case, you're still just hoping for 10 to 12 minutes from Saric. So worst case scenario is he plays a minute or 2 less than he normally would have. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But if to answer your question, like it would be Ayton and Saric that is the contradictory piece, even though I still don't think that's the craziest idea, because you could still get ample minutes from both of them.
Yeah, like I said, I think we might be in line for seeing one of those like zeros in the optimal, because look, you've got Ayton, Booker, Paul, Giannis, Holiday, Middleton. If 4 of those guys are really good, you need to save salary somewhere. And it might be the case that you're just playing $1,000 scrub.
Right. Exactly. And if that's the case, well, things change a lot. Who would you say your biggest fade is on this slate?
Jay Crowder.
All right.
I have him as my 5th best option on Phoenix. And for all intents and purposes, he's tied with Mikal Bridges. But Crowder's pulling 43% ownership and Bridges is pulling 33%. So to me, it's just easier to get to Bridges in that scenario. I don't think the $400 matters that much. On FanDuel, Chris Paul is probably the answer for me. The fact that he's 15K is just like not correct.
Yeah, that seems a little egregious as well. Bucks at 5 in some spots, back to 5.5 on DK, looking at 4.5. Wow, 4.5 on one book. That's why you use oddshopper.com. I mean, there's some opportunity to get some real good ones here. Josh, we spent most of this show hitting on the Giannis news, which is huge. I will point out again that we have that giveaway for the full year over at Awesemo_com on Twitter. Follow Josh while you're there, Josh Engleman, myself at Lafayette_D. And be sure to check out everything we have at Awesemo.com/join. Ownership, player projections, all of our premium articles, the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, the Top Stack tool, the Boom Bust tool, you name it. All the tools that are going to help you improve your game, built by Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, #1 ranked DFS player out there. You'll certainly hear us reference them all the time in the show. That's for a reason, right? Ownership, the Boom Bust probability, boom, all of that. And if you're a single entry or 3-max, you have the lineup builder and a million other things that you can check out over there. Weekly, annual, monthly, whatever you want to do. One sport, all of our sports, we got you covered. Go to awesemo.com/join. And if you use the promo code NBA Live before lock, you'll get 25% off your first week. Last thing, we'll get back to this, I promise. If you use the promo code Tennis DFS, all one word, all caps, you'll get all of our tennis projection and tennis content for an entire month for $1. With Wimbledon going on, it's a pretty good opportunity, and it's literally $1. So I think you'll want to stick around, but even if you don't, again, $1. All right, Josh, we did get over 800 likes, so nice pull there. We're at 826.
We got to have a conversation on this. Oh, okay. The line just moved to 4.5 at Pinnacle, and I was just looking at it while it was sitting at 5.5, and I was like, we need to have a conversation about what this line was supposed to be if Giannis didn't play, because if it was still sitting at 5.5, that's implying that it was 7, which to me is insanity.
It's nuts. And I'm still surprised on a couple. It's at 5.5 still. It's nuts. Jets World in Slack says Giannis looks great warming up, quick and agile. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I haven't seen it.
Jin Lin looked great too, working out against a chair. They took him 5th.
Yeah. What's your favorite? I'm taking some questions from our premium Slack chat here, and then we'll get to our props. I still like the under on this, by the way. I don't know where you're at, but these two teams played at the slowest pace in the league in the postseason. They both are, I'm sorry, not the slowest. They played it around 97 possessions per 48, which is very slow. They were number 1 and 2, Bucks Suns, in defensive efficiency. Good defenses, slow pace. Suns are shooting only 30% from 3 in the postseason. Bucks have done a phenomenal job at limiting 3-point shooting. So have the Suns. It just feels like one of those games, even with Giannis playing, the total's only going to 219.5. That could definitely go under here. So there's other spots you can get it too with better odds. Go to OddsShopper, of course, to check that out. What were you going to say, Josh?
I don't have a clue, man.
Okay.
There's too much going on. I was going to ask for likes again because there's 6 minutes left. So, guys, just do that. I'm not going to bludgeon you for it.
Yeah, 1,000 seems out of reach, but you know what?
It'll be 1,000 by the time this day is over.
It probably will, but you can't fault anybody. 850 almost on an NBA Showdown slate. We thank you. It helps us a ton, by the way. We don't just do this for our pleasure and ego. Josh might, but I do it because the algorithm tells people that we have shows.
You think I have an ego?
What'd you say?
I have an ego?
I didn't say that. I did. Yeah, I did.
That would have been true too.
What's your favorite under 5K play besides Johnson on DraftKings? Ask Carter. For me, honestly, it's PJ Tucker. What about you?
Under 5K on DraftKings?
Mm-hmm. Tucker, I'm factoring in ownership there too, of course.
Yeah, it's Tucker.
Yeah.
Tucker Sarich Forbes.
Charles says Giannis for cash games with a bunch of question marks and please help.
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, if you're part of the Awesemo team in YouTube, you got that badge. I'm very happy to take those questions. I'll take them from people that aren't as well, but we will absolutely hit on whatever we can here. All right, Josh, couple more. Where are we at? Can you guys have, can't hit on that right now.
We have one more poll up, by the way.
Go ahead.
So just so everybody sees it. I don't know how you're feeling about this one, but let's see if we can make you guys be right when this poll hits. Has it refreshed itself to go live? Can we get to 1,000 likes? 81 yes, 19 no. We are. If you vote in this poll yes and haven't hit the thumbs up, you're part of the problem.
That would be a huge issue. But I think there's a lot of people that assume we can make that happen, and that would be awesome. Top props, Josh. I'm taking the under on this game. The prop game, I don't know if it's even come back up in a lot of spots. I had earlier, I had over on Jrue Holiday, 8.5 assists, but the problem is I haven't been able to look at any of these props because they were all off the board. And I'm assuming if they've come back, they're all different than what I knew earlier in the day. Yeah,
I haven't seen anything. I'm assuming they're not going to put them back up for the final 2 minutes or so. Everything that I took this morning on the breakfast menu is fixing to get beat pretty bad. Middleton over, Jrue Holiday over on points. I mean, I can get lucky and cash one of them. I'd be shocked if I were able to cash two of them. So, that's not really awesome.
What is your top Giannis captain lineup look like again?
My optimal.
Oh, is Giannis in the optimal now? I thought he was in your second lineup.
Oh, at captain, you mean?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So he's in my second optimal at captain. Giannis at captain, Paul, Booker, Ayton, Cam Johnson, and Bryn Forbes.
Okay.
And in that case, I probably wouldn't take Bryn Forbes.
Yeah, I would think that's the case as well.
The problem is there's not like a real natural upgrade.
No, there's not. And I'm just making some adjustments here before we go to lock. So if there's anything you're looking to throw out there, feel free to do it. We've got a couple minutes to go here.
944 likes. The people that are voting, 73% yes, looking like it could win. We're eating 56 more. We still have almost 2,000 people in here.
All right. Any adjustments any of you guys need to make? Let's see about this.
Yeah, if you want to hit me rapid fire or something.
Yeah, I'm looking for him. Is Chris Paul the move? Coasters Gaming asks. Like, who do you like more? Chris Paul, Devin Booker. I'll say on DraftKings because they're all very closely priced. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Jrue Holiday.
Booker ahead of Paul, although I think they're both relatively neutral according to ownership. I have Jrue Holiday just slightly behind Devin Booker. So it would go Booker, Holiday, Paul. I don't think that there's a huge gap for any of those guys, though.
I'll tell you what feels really gross, dude. I have so much Cam Johnson.
I think you have to.
I don't know how to get away from it.
If he has a bad game, I think that the sixth spot in the optimal lineup is a garbage player.
How many lineups do you have right now without Giannis? That's like the biggest question I have. How many of them are you saying, you know what, maybe he's not good to go?
30%.
30%? That sounds about right. I mean, so you're basically in line with the field, as a matter of fact.
Seems like a good place to hold hands today.
Yeah, exactly. If you have to be in line with the field somewhere, a day like today. Well, where do you have him in the captain spot? What percentage do you have Giannis at captain? That's another good one because at utility, it almost feels like it makes more sense, but I could definitely be wrong there. 20% in captain.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. I'm on board. 25
more
seconds
today.
Josh, we're at 988. We're at 988 likes. My Lord.
Come on, everybody. This one's not going to be all that hard. We got to hit you guys with it one last time. We're out of here. Then we'll see if we can do it again on Thursday, but I don't think we're going to have the same sort of juice because the Giannis news was helpful.
We only have two. This is what sucks. We only have 2 NBA shows this week, Josh.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
It's very much a bummer, but that's all right. This has been great. We just hit
it's better than having one next week.
We just hit 1,000 likes to close the show out. And chat's just as stoked as we are. Gotta love this shit. Good luck, guys. We will see you back here very soon. Be sure to check out our sponsor, No House Advantage. Head over to awesemo.com. Got a ton of free content, but also awesome stuff. You check out behind the paywall at awesemo.com/join. And I can't believe you did it. Good luck. Hopefully someone here takes down the Millie tonight because we all deserve it.
Love you guys. We'll see that on the Hall of Fame too. Make sure you got your avatar posted. Rock that avatar,
Josh
baby.
Engleman just said he loves you guys. This is a day to remember. Jordan, cue that music. We out. Thanks for producing as always, fella. Peace.
Later.